It's fantasy football draft season, it's Labor Day weekend, and we're looking at our stash plays. We're looking at our IR, we're looking at our guys we can stash first 4 weeks of the season, even longer. If you can't do that, then maybe you want to look at some other stashes in your draft, or to pick up off waivers after your draft, however you can play it. But one of the bigger stashes for the IR is here again, and it's Keaton Mitchell. We're talking about him again, because we got to start the season. I saved him for Labor Day because I know you guys want to hear about Keaton Mitchell. I know it. So we're going to do a deep dive on him. We're going to go over Keaton Mitchell again because honestly, he deserves it. He built the channel. It's on his back. Him and Kyron Williams. And you know what? You guys are here for it. I know a lot of you guys are. We're going to do a deep dive on him. Whether or not you need to stash him on IR, we're going to strategize around him. We're going to do a deep dive. But before we do, you need to click that subscribe button. We're doing deep dives every day. Sometimes they're really deep plays off the waiver wire. Sometimes they're the top guys off the waiver wire. Sometimes they're the trending guys. We also cover the waiver wire every day. We're running player lists. We're going deep off the waiver wire. The start of the week, we cover the basic parts of the waiver wire. And then we help you set your lineups by looking at the matchups. Click that button. Stop missing out. But Keaton Mitchell had a nasty injury. We covered it. We covered it right when it happened. His knee buckled, tore his ACL, out for the year. We don't know when he's really going to be back. We haven't really seen him move. But there's some things right now that's going on in Baltimore that could lend a notion that if he comes back, he might be getting some opportunity. Keaton Mitchell's going to start off on the pup. That's no surprise, right? No surprise after seeing that picture last year. We were waiting for him. He started off on the IR/pup last year. Then we get to week 9. After we started talking about him, and we talked about him quite a bit, starting from around week 3, week 4 range, as a stash for your IR spot, all the way throughout the season, as a lottery ticket play, a guy that's even a lottery ticket for your lineup, because it makes sense of how he plays the game. 20-point game, 13-point game, 10, 10, with some nothing burgers in between. That's just the type of player he is. That's the type of player he's going to be here in the National Football League. He's never going to be a guy that's going to handle like 30 rushing attempts in a game or anything like that. And that's going to be the catalyst of him scoring lots of fantasy points on any given moment, because he can run up to 22.5 miles per hour, runs a 4.3, and on top of that has a lot of gusto and a lot of juice. The team signed him to a solid contract for an undrafted free agent right before the season because he was looking good. He was dynamic. You're dynamic when you run like this. But at East Carolina, 1,400 yards his final year, 14 touchdowns. Year prior, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. But look at the missed tackles forced. 64 that final year in 2022. 3.48 yards after contact per attempt. Longest run, 81 yards. Longest run the year prior, 88 yards. He's got the speed to make it happen. And on top of that, he's very slippery when wet. And also in the passing game, yards after the catch per reception. If he gets the ball in space, he's gone. 13.7 yards after the catch per reception in 2021. 9.4 in 2022. That's what you want to look at in these running backs, because that indicates that in space, they can get you yards if they got room to move. And then he runs a 4.37 40-yard dash at the combine. Falls in the draft. Last year's draft was stacked at running back. We saw a lot of running backs fall in the draft. We saw a lot of running backs go day 3. We saw that. It was touted up as being a very, very talented running back class. Keaton Mitchell was one of them that fell, went undrafted, went to Baltimore though. Baltimore is the place you want to go if you're a running back and you got some upside to your name. That is where you want to go. Last year though, number 1 running back in the NFL, true yards per carry, 7.1, averaged 8.4 yards per carry last year. And that's due to the deep speed. On top of that, yards after contact per attempt, 5.68. Limited sample on the carries and touches, but large enough to where that can average out to be a normal number. But he could not give you a normal number because he is a splash play machine. 12 carries of 10 plus yards or more. He is a home run threat because anytime he touches the football, bam, it could be a long gain. He's like a splash play wide receiver. He's the Will Fuller of running backs. Now you look at the depth chart. Rasheen Ali, they drafted this year. And everybody's like, hey, he's going to be a guy. He's going to be a guy to pay attention to. We look for him to climb the depth chart. He was battling Owen Wright. He was battling it out with him. He was not living to expectations. They like Justice Hill, but Justice Hill's not a world beater. He's proven that out in the NFL. They got Derrick Henry. He's going to get the workload. We love Derrick Henry. We like him for fantasy football, but running backs get hurt. That's the name of the game in the National Football League. That's what happens. Running backs go down. You got to look at who's the next man up. You got to look at the depth chart. But imagine a world. You got Lamar Jackson. You got a healthy Derrick Henry. And Keaton Mitchell comes back. And he's looking good. He's back to his 4.3 self, running 22 miles per hour. How are you going to stop that run game? How are you going to do that? You got to make some big decisions every play with your personnel with that. Imagine both of them in the backfield with Lamar Jackson. Imagine with how they run this offense. That could be a situation teams have to deal with. Now, for fantasy football, you got to make decisions as well. Because I told you what kind of player he is for fantasy football. And that's a splash play machine where he can go off any given week. But he can also give you some nothing burgers any given week as well. But you look at Justice Hill, because that is another running back to look at in this offense. He has not been super productive. They've always had a bunch of running backs to share the backfield with. But also, too, if he was a world beater, he'd be beating them out as well and just stealing the role. They wouldn't need to bring in Derrick Henry, and that's just not happening. But he is a guy that can siphon workload and get opportunity throughout the year. Justice Hill is another name to pay attention to, just in case, another ancillary running back. But Keaton Mitchell, we're going back to his numbers. He has just as many RB1 weeks as Justice Hill, who's been in the league for multiple seasons. And Keaton Mitchell can do that on any given week, and he only needs like 3 touches to do it. He only needs like 3. He does not need a full workload. He just needs to share the backfield with a guy like Derrick Henry, and he could just pop off. Just like that. That's the thing about Keaton Mitchell. That's the beauty about him. But you may not want a running back like that. You may not want that on the back end of your bench. However, you're going to have him on your IR spot right now if you can do it. In Underdog Fantasy, no one's drafting him. They don't know when he's going to be back. We don't know if he's ever going to be back. You don't have an IR spot there on Underdog, so you can't look at him. No one's really drafting him. He's not a draftable player. But he's a guy that, with your last pick, or with a waiver wire ad, and you can move things around, you can get them on the IR. And I've said this multiple times last year. People don't understand that. Use your IR spots. Use that IR spot for a stash. Who cares that player never comes back? Because if he doesn't come back and you only got a few IR spots, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that, just turn and burn them. Just turn and burn them. It's not a big deal. If that player doesn't come back or come to fruition or look healthy, it's a lottery ticket. This is the lottery ticket of lottery tickets. He's already proven it. He's already showed you that at the NFL level. And everybody's starting to look him up now. People are looking him up on Sleeper. I saw that. I was like, holy shit, we're back on the Keaton Mitchell wagon. Holy shit, we're back. People are looking up Keaton Mitchell. People are interested in Keaton Mitchell as a stash. That is what they're saying. They're like, hey, I'm going to put this guy on IR. So I'm not the only one saying this or doing this, because we're seeing a lot of people do this right now. We're seeing a lot of people think about it at least right now. They're looking at his name. They're wondering about Keaton Mitchell. 6th ranked player on the trend up list right now, Keaton Mitchell. You don't need him, though, because you actually don't need him. You don't need him. He's a luxury, especially if you got the spot on IR. But you need him because you want to go YOLO with your injury reserve spots, and you should. You should. And this is not just talking about Keaton Mitchell right now. This is talking strategy, and Keaton Mitchell is the catalyst for this. You need to look at your IR spots if you have one. You want to look at your rules, and if you can move players there with your last pick, get a guy on IR, put him there, and just pick up another guy off waivers. Fill up that IR. Fill it up. Drop down the guys you don't like on your IR for the guys that actually go on IR or whatever. Fill that up. Watch your rules. If you can put guys in the pup there, put guys in the pup there. Just IR, guys. Just IR. Just do it. Just do it. It's a manipulation tactic that you do in your fantasy leagues if possible. A lot of people will say they already do that in the comment section because you know what? I've already had it. I say this every year. But every year I got to say this because people will be like, hey, that guy's injured. He's not coming back. You got an IR spot. He's free. Just put him there. It ain't going to hurt nothing. It ain't going to hurt none. What's it going to do? He doesn't come back, comes back, sucks a little bit because he's hurt. He's come back from injury, and he's not ready to come back till next year, year after. What's it going to hurt? What's it going to hurt? See what happens with this lottery ticket, with any of these lottery tickets, not just him or any other player. Not for one player, but a blanket statement for the strategy. Check out your IR roster spot rules, see what you can do with them. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We strategize heavy on this channel. We're going to work the waiver wire more than any other channel, I promise you, out there. And you're going to want that information. Click that subscribe button. Stop missing out on one thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.